Heads up, friends. The unofficial Shopify podcast is made by indie entrepreneurs for indie entrepreneurs and may contain material not suitable for all audiences, like swearing or economics. Listener discretion is advised. As e-com evolves, revenue is becoming less meaningful than another metric: your profit. It's not just about revenue when rising ad costs and tight margins are at play. Enter Store Hero, your new ally in turning profit-centric visions into reality. By bringing together your sales, marketing, and operational costs, Store Hero provides a crystal clear view of your real profitability, down to each order's contribution margin. Now, deciding on advertising budgets with confidence is within reach, thanks to a platform that prioritizes profit over revenue. Eager to embrace a profit-first e-com journey? Visit storehero.ai to schedule a demo and unveil a platform built for the forward-thinking profit-first brand. And here's a special bonus for you. Mention the unofficial Shopify podcast during that demo. Get a free profitability audit for 2024. That's storehero.ai.
I love it. You're like, why should anyone listen to this guy?
Why? Maybe that's the intro. Just leave it like that. All right, you know what? We'll use this. We'll keep it raw.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
You're Jacques Spitzer, Raindrop Agency, but like the thing that people would recognize you for, of course, is your work, is your client deliverable, and you had a #1 YouTube video. You had a Super Bowl ad. Give me something someone might recognize that your agency produced.
You know, I think the I would say the 4 or 5 ads that people are like, oh, that one, or something of that sort is, for the about 7 years span, we created almost every single ad that Dr. Squatch created. So if you've seen a golden-haired, angel-looking man named James Schrader with long blonde hair on your YouTube, television, Meta, pretty much every single channel. I think they even do some Twitch stuff. Bottom line is we created those ads. And so I would say most men know those ads. Most women know our ads. The last 2.5 years, we've been doing a lot of work with native. So any of the ads that have like the centaur in them, any of the mythical variety creatures, those are all native. We did a famous ad for Lumi, which is a whole body deodorant with the founder that scaled to, hundreds of millions of views as well. Laundry Sauce is a brand that we've helped incubate and create from the beginning in terms of the brand. And a lot of people are seeing those ads as well. They're just all fun. They're disruptive. They're different.
So you've generated how many views?
At this point, probably 1.5 billion, something like that. But more importantly, we've generated over $1 billion in revenue for our clients. It's the first 7-8 years we were building something great, and then we had our breakouts, and then we've gotten opportunities to just keep making hits. So one Super Bowl commercial led to another, which is now probably going to lead to another. It's just that's how it all works in terms of opportunities.
Clearly, we've established you as the expert. Your commercials, they feel like short films. They're these short vignettes. They're extremely cinematic. They look big budget. They have extraordinary production values. Beyond just the polish, I could throw money at it. What is the secret sauce here? So
essentially where we start is, and where most brands don't start. So where most brands start is they say, this is what I want people to know about. This is what I want to talk about. This is what I want my ad to be about. And then they go and they create a script and they shoot it and they put it out there. Whether it's high budget, low budget, doesn't really matter. It's just that's their approach. You get a brief. It's like the brief's done. That's it. What we did with these brands, and we bake it. We have a full process that we do that some brands invest in, or even if they don't, if it's just like a project, we still have to do this work to do our job well, is we figure out what is the consumer's why. And so there's, you may have heard of Simon Sinek say, hey, you know, you need to know your brand's why. And that's not untrue. It's just incomplete. And so we had this like working theory right before we started working with Dr. Squatch, where we're like, well, people don't really buy your why as a brand. They buy their own why. And so we got really into this thing called self-expressive benefits. You can Google it. It's really interesting. It's like everything I buy, everything I do or don't do says something about who I am, who I believe I am, who I believe I'm becoming. And if you do the work to figure out what those things are, you can just mirror it back to people. Right. It's like that's the first step in all of this, is like creating what we call the moment in the mirror. And so in a lot of the, like in all of our work, that's something that we do. And we also, I think, do a good job because we've tested so many of those over the years. And we know that some of them just don't matter as much emotionally to people as others, right? Some things that you would think would really matter, like just don't. And one of those things is like going greener, being carbon neutral. Like everyone loves that, but like it doesn't sell as hard as you think it would, even though it's such an obvious self-expressive benefit. Then once we have that, and you talked about the style of the ad, we think to ourselves, how do we take that, all of these things that are self-expressive about the consumer, and create a context in which they will actually want to spend time with us, right? We haven't written a word yet. We haven't written any scripting yet. There's no unique selling propositions yet. You know, it doesn't explain what the product does. It's just like, what is this concept and world that we are building? So we build the worlds, we pitch the concepts. Sometimes this is confusing to our clients because they're like, but where's the script? And we're like, we're not there yet, right? We already put 100 hours of work into brainstorming where and how this message could come through, but there's no script yet. And then we write the script and we make sure that it's like there is a formula to attention where we're like, I mean, if you watch a Mr. Beast video, there's a formula to attention. There's a reason that 20 minutes go by with his content. Like he knows how to shoot and edit content. We just know people are on the internet to waste time, to learn something new, or to laugh. That's pretty much it. I mean, or do something illicit, illegal, or whatever else. So knowing that, we're creating advertising that is more compelling than the thing that you were about to watch anyway. And if that's what you're doing, you will win. And that's why we've won, is that we just keep trying to make ads that are better than the thing that you were about to see anyway. Doesn't matter the production value, to be honest. It's nice, but like it doesn't have to be that. But I do think that production value keys someone mentally into, oh, this may be worth watching. And then it's a numbers game. You put it in front of 1,000 people, the CPM, let's say $15, $25, whatever. Does 1 out of 1,000 people buy? Does 2 out of 1,000 people buy? Does 1 out of 10,000 people buy? Even if it's a more expensive product, you put in front of 10,000 people, you're printing money. So that's how these brands have done that. And that's the formula. It starts with this insight and it goes through to action completion.
So we start with customer research, customer persona development. How are we doing it? Are you going surveys, phone interviews, reviews, just asking the brand what they think?
It's funny because there are times where people have sort of the wrong self-expressive benefits or maybe the wrong perception. I think what's interesting is, as an outside partner, as an agency coming in, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, like we have, we've developed brand identities for almost 100 brands. Like we have so much rich history of understanding what works and what doesn't. So when you're trying to do it by yourself, where I think most people go wrong is they just ask the consumers directly, right? Or they don't involve other partners or perspectives to help them navigate it. And so what they end up with is like very skewed information. Let me give you like an example. Okay, so laundry sauce. I mentioned them earlier. We helped them launch. And I think one of the questions I always ask people is like, what are you really selling? What are you really selling? Most people, they stop digging at unique selling propositions. What I mean is, if you haven't looked up laundry sauce, I'll paint the example. Laundry sauce is a very premium, almost luxurious, fine fragrance laundry detergent, and now a full laundry experience that is, average order value is over $100, right? Like, this is not in comparison to, your average laundry detergent. It is very expensive. Nothing like it existed before this. What most people see is they go, oh, well, that's expensive laundry detergent. That makes me feel like if I would use it, I would feel fancy. I would feel like I'm YOLOing. I'm living my life to its fullest. I've made it. Like, when you look at the self-expressive benefits on a simple like level, that's usually where people stop. So if we sent out a survey, I guarantee you people what they would tell you is, I like the way it makes my clothes smell. I like I like the box. I like, it makes me feel accomplished, maybe at best. It's not tapping into why does this matter? Because I was talking to my mother-in-law, who absolutely loves the product. And it was fascinating to me because she actually said the thing that I'm like, that's what the insight is. But I didn't think that anyone actually would consciously arrive there. She said, I've been doing laundry for over 70 years. It's the first time I've felt any joy doing my laundry. And I was like, there it is. That's it. That's what this product sells. It takes a mundane task and gives you a pinch of joy. And that's what Dr. Squatch does with their soap. That's all it is. Does it get you clean? Yes. Is it all natural? Yes. But like, it gives you joy in a mundane experience and a thing that you're going to have to do anyway. And I was like, bingo, that's it. So before we even launched the brand, we're like, that's the goal, is how do we make people feel joy in a mundane experience? Because now that's the difference between a chore and self-care.
So our magic here is we have to know what the benefit is, what the end consumer's getting out of it, but it can't be superficial. And ideally, we want this emotional connection.
You need the emotional connection.
Okay, we have to have it for this to work as like a short narrative adventure in selling. Hey, Shopify sellers, listen up. Get ready to unleash your creativity with the brand new landing page builder from Zipify Pages. This isn't just Zipify's biggest update ever. It's a revolution in building Shopify store designs. Say goodbye to clunky designs and hello to total customization. With Zipify's new builder, you're the boss of every pixel on your site. Drag, drop, swap elements, it's all in your hands to craft the most effective layout for conversions. Zipify Pages comes straight from the founder of a $180 million e-com empire. These templates aren't just pretty, they've been tested in the arena with a 9-figure Shopify store. And it's easy to use. A few clicks and your product pages, marketing pages, blog pages, even your homepage will be looking sharp and conversion optimized for maximum sales. And because these templates are tested in a 9-figure Shopify store first, you know they actually work. So why settle for the standard when you can have a site that's uniquely yours? You could try Zipify Pages and their brand new builder for free for 14 days when you go to zipify.com/Kurt. That's zipify.com/KURT to try Zipify Pages for free. And if you tried Pages in the past and thought it wasn't for you, you owe it to yourself to try it again because the new Zipify Pages is a game changer. Zipify.com/Kurt. Check it out. We're not even at concept for a commercial yet until we've uncovered this. We uncover this. Now what?
I think ultimately what we do is we start assuming that you're trying to write a script or make a video out of it. Because I think this to us applies to your website copy, your organic social account, everything in your brand, right? I want to be very clear. This is not like in order to make video. It's like to make photography, to make anything. It's like, what is this brand conveying? What are the emotions they're hitting? That's critical. But in terms of actually writing a script, what we tend to do is we make sure that we map out what is the story. What is the story that we're trying to tell, and we map it out in a way that I would say to some extent there is some formula to it. So I don't want to make it sound like there's not, because there's just, I think I see a lot of people try to imitate stylistically, aspects of, I'll call it like edutational selling. But I think if you look at, and I use this as an example, the 30-minute infomercial, like dominated television for years and years and years, this 30-minute format, and you could almost realize, even in it, you could realize the formula, and yet you still wanted to watch the whole thing. Like I remember watching those as a kid. I don't know about you, Kurt.
I did not.
You never watched an infomercial? Oh my gosh.
Not all the way through. Get like a few minutes, then I'm like, oh God.
The problem is that I grew up I grew up without cable. So like I was just like, I'll take any content I can get.
So did I.
So you didn't never watch. Okay, so you're telling me you never watched like a Foreman grill commercial or like anything like that where there's just like people demoing a product and you're just like, wow, that is really interesting. You never watched one.
It has been a turnoff my entire life.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Just because it's not something that we like, because I've been guilty of this. Like, okay, I don't really like that form of advertising. It can work very well, right? Like you can reach a lot of people quickly. And so what I realized was that no one, people were trying to recreate the same experience that someone was having through an infomercial, but in the internet era. It's because like kind of like gone are the days of the 30-minute infomercial. There are people that will watch them and buy off them. Somewhere out there, people are doing billions of dollars in sales with infomercials. I want to be very clear. Like it's not dead. It's a different audience. But the concept of the owner of the company and or Gordon Ramsay physically at retail stores in person, demoing and explaining the product to everybody who walks in, you'd probably sell a lot of pans. There's just something about that experience. You get the backstory, you understand the technology, you understand the passion behind it, the quality behind it. Right now, you walk into a store and there's just a box on the shelf, right? Maybe there's some sort of end cap display. And so what I realized was that with your advertising, you can create a scenario in which case you've put this person in front of people on the internet and they spend anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes with them and they get the opportunity to make that sales pitch. What the beauty of the internet is if 999 out of 1,000 people don't buy, you don't experience the rejection in person of 999 people not buying. You don't feel those people not buying. What you get the benefit of is the 1 out of 1,000 that does. And I'm like, wow, that's the power of the internet. And so when it comes to like, and then what? Like, I think we tend to think, okay, if someone spent a minute with us, 2 minutes with us, 3 minutes with us, what would we want them to know and walk away with, right? So that I don't want to make it sound like we'd never do that work, but that's where most people start. And I think that that's just the fundamental difference is if you don't have a lens to see it through, if you're not writing and attaching it to something entertaining, if you're just like, let me write the story and then figure out how to make it entertaining, that's where it's just hard to get it to where you need to get to. And so we do write out the scripts. We make sure there's certain formulaic things we're looking for. Like if it is longer than a minute, we want to have a first call to action somewhere within a minute. We want to, there are some things in there that like we want to introduce the brand, before 25 seconds. I mean, there's just things in there that you're like, all right, like we got to do because we know statistically if we don't, it just doesn't work. And so we're looking at it through some formulaic lenses. But I would say you could also just study. Like that's what we did was we just studied what was successful. We reverse engineered what's the formulas, and then we did our best to write to them, and then we created our own from there. But I've found that original formulation, and I'm like, wow, this is still eerily similar. And I would argue that so is everything. The hero's journey,
right?
It's like there's all a formula to what humans like in terms of storytelling.
Yeah, there's only a handful of like story formulas that we work with. So, well, one thing I'm curious about is authenticity. Like authenticity is this, it's become kind of a goofy buzzword over the last 18, 24 months because of social media, because social media often, feels so manufactured. And so we're just desperate for something that feels real. when you have a highly polished produced commercial, does that feel inauthentic? And does the success of it prove to us like, well, it all depends on context and maybe it doesn't matter?
It's a good question. I would say a couple of things to that. One is, I think that people get caught up in it. They certainly get caught up in production quality, meaning I don't think it's the thing that it's a spice. It's not a core ingredient. I truly believe that me and our team creating something in our process with an iPhone is going to be better than giving the best camera in the world to a random production company and saying, make a great commercial. Right. I don't think it's a production quality thing. I do think that production quality does inherently speak to people. Every brand has, every brand has a variety of ways of reaching people. But if you can set the expectation that this is a great brand, this is a trusted brand, you can take care of some of the objections and fears literally through the quality of the content alone. Then you give yourself a chance to tell your story. All of our brands, for the most part, are using UGC in their formulas, but I would argue what most of them don't have is a way to tell their story in a more highly produced way. And I look at AG1. I think they're a great example. AG1 exploded onto the scene, through really influencer marketing. So it was just everywhere during COVID. I just like, oh my gosh, another person sponsored by AG1, blah, blah, blah. But then I think where they really turned the corner as a brand was when they started making their more highly produced commercials, putting them on connected television, and you start seeing these beautiful shots of the product and everything else. And it's like, well, there's going to be a lot of competitors, and a lot of the competitors are going to be way cheaper. And so, now they're starting to make an expectation, set the bar. I think Mudwater has also done a similar path. If you watch what they've done, where it's like, especially with products that are going in your body, you have to feel like you can trust them. They're supplemental, and so seeing production quality, I think, is just as much as seeing something on TV or seeing something in the Super Bowl or seeing something like, it does validate at a very high level that this is a real company doing real things, but it's not like every ad you ever have to do has to be high quality. Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm making
I think that's a good explanation. Visually, it is shorthand for this is legitimate, but 100% of everything does not have to have that quality. And, that shorthand for this is legitimate. If the content doesn't work, it doesn't work. Only now it was expensive, right? Like there's just a lot more effort involved.
No, I want to do, because I think something you just said is super interesting, which is I do believe you can work your way up to taking bigger swings. That absolutely is true. However, I also believe that it's really hard to hit a home run without taking a big swing. That's the biggest thing is they're like, how can I de-risk this risky thing? And you're like, well, there are ways, but there's a reason it's risky, right? Like, don't take the risk if you can't afford to, but a lot of people can, and they're just still scared. On the other side of risk is potential big reward. And so when you shoot something at a higher quality and you put this time and energy in, it gives you the opportunity to put that content. It's now no longer just a market piece. It's an asset. So you can always augment things to have them work. Maybe you open the ad with some UGC that works for you, and then use some of the highly polished stuff, right? We call those mashups. Or it opens up a new channel for you. Oh, I've never really gotten anything to work on YouTube. Oh, I've never really gotten anything. I've never even had anything usable for connected TV that I felt really confident in, which I know was where you're headed. I always look at it as, if you view it as an asset and not as just some big liability. Oh, it didn't work. It's a waste of money. Turn it off. If that's the way you experience it, it will be a waste of money, but it should be an investment in what you capture, your story, and also just the footage should be usable and reusable over and over again. It's now an ingredient that your brand didn't have before.
Well, so connected television is one of those things that I have wanted to talk about on this show for months to a year. and have yet to do it because I didn't know who to talk to about it. And then you just brought it up organically. And of course you would know. But all right, I've got, every wall in my house is plastered with smart TVs, and they all have streaming services. And like naturally, my over-the-air antennas don't work on half of them. So I have to do streaming services, and on the free ones, they're ad powered. Those ads are very different often from what is on commercial television, like actual cable TV. And they're for DTC brands. And I'm like, this is many I've heard of. Like I've seen Lumi on there. You mentioned Lumi. I've seen it. And the ad you described was founder face to camera cut with UGC. It was exactly what you just described. And that was on that's connected TV. How are people getting, what is the platform? How are we getting ads on connected TV? Just brain dump on me for 3 minutes about connected TV.
Let's just start with, what does connected television even mean? Let me break it down. I'll break it down. I'll do my best to break it down real quick, because connected television inventory is fascinating, because you have Netflix now, which jumped onto the scene. You have YouTube television, and you have Hulu. Those are all their own platforms. Closed circuit, that's where that ad inventory is. That's all more expensive ad inventory. So I just want to point that out. Your cost per thousand, your CPM, anywhere from low end, probably $30, all the way up to closer to like, people are complaining about the ones on Netflix, saying those CPMs are like in the $60. I will tell you right now, tough CPMs, not a good, I don't know who's there, but where our brands are winning on connected television is that when I thought of connected TV, what I immediately always thought of was, I thought of Tubi and like Fubo, and to your point, like
Freevee. Pluto. Pluto's my favorite.
Pluto, like the things where I'm like, oh yes, it's free ad supported stuff. I don't spend time there. I have YouTube TV. That's where I watch my TV. Like, so I was like, I'm not really getting hit with any CTV ads. And so my mindset went to like, well, is this for people that can't afford other things? Like who's reaching them? Let's say you have an MSNBC app. Let's say you have a CNN app or a Fox News app that you watch your news on, which a lot of people do. Watch it through the apps. Paramount Plus, your ESPN Plus, like all of these things where you can almost feel it when you're on the platforms, to your point. Like you get a different type of ad, and also you can feel it because there's not enough ad inventory being served. Like I was watching a game. I was watching my San Diego State Aztecs play. I was watching a game, and it just kept getting served the same ads over and over again. And it was like, and a lot of them were from ESPN, because I'm like, they don't have enough to serve me. This is crazy. Like,
isn't it? Or it'll be like, oh, we'll be right back in 30 seconds. And it's just like a countdown with stock music on it.
Exactly.
You
There's
really
just like
couldn't find something to show me.
Right. So that's how what's interesting is that, there are probably billions, but millions of impressions happening every day. And a lot of brands just don't know how to reach people. And the thing that's crazy, and this is when I said, what's mind blowing. Let's say you use a provider like Mountain. You have the ability to remarket people that come to your site as long as you have an aspect of their IP addresses. So now you're not just like willy-nilly showing it. You're remarketing basically your television ad to people on their televisions after they have visited your site. So that's one. That's just like low-hanging, obvious places to be in front of them that are very high impact, high touch. But two, and this is where I was like, whoa, this is cool, is in Mountain, you can run cohort tests where you show the ads to people and they track those IP addresses. And then they also show the ads to people, then they also don't show the ads to another cohort of people who are watching the same app at the same time, and they tag those IP addresses. And then they go forward in time, and then over like a 3-month period, you can see the incremental lift of, well, this cohort ended up buying $30,000 worth of product, and this cohort ended up spending $350,000 worth of product, right, from us. So people will still find you, and they'll still buy from you online, but like you can actually see the incremental lift, which honestly, brands need that to even understand how to use this top of funnel. And I think a lot of the CPMs are under $20, 25, 20. I've heard as low as like $18. So very comparable to, somewhere between a YouTube and a Meta can be, can really unlock new viewership or just a really great remarketing channel for brands. And so I don't know anyone who's taken CTV and said, this is my number one channel, right? I've seen people do that with linear TV. I haven't seen that with CTV being like, this is my number one channel. But is it a great piece of the tool belt, especially for these brands doing, 25 million plus. Yes. It's like a no-brainer, at least on a remarketing.
Absolutely. No, it sounds like TV with like decent analytics and attribution.
That's a great way of putting it. I mean, it really is. We do have some clients who are crushing it with more traditional, cable TV. So that is different. Like when you do a linear TV ad, your ad will go out and you can track it back to time periods, whereas connected television is just always on. So if someone's watching TV at 2 a.m. and they got remarketed, well, then they might get, or at 7, it reaches them as a remarketing piece whenever. So they do work differently. Whereas like linear TV is like you bought this time in this space and it just indiscriminately goes to anyone who's watching the Hallmark channel at that moment.
Crowdfunding campaigns are great. You can add social proof and urgency to your product pre-orders while reducing risk of failure. But with traditional crowdfunding platforms, you're paying high fees and giving away control, all while your campaign is lost in a sea of similar offers. It can be frustrating. That's why we built Crowdfunder, the Shopify app that turns your Shopify product pages into your own independent crowdfunding campaigns. We originally created Crowdfunder for our private clients, and it was so successful, we turned it into an app that anyone can use. Today, merchants using Crowdfunder have raised millions collectively. With Crowdfunder, you'll enjoy real-time tracking, full campaign control, and direct customer engagement. And it's part of the Built for Shopify program, so you know it's easy to use. So say goodbye to high fees and hello to successful store-based crowdfunding. Start your free trial and transform your Shopify store into a pre-order powerhouse today. Search Crowdfunder in the Shopify App Store to get started. You're talking about connected TV, which feels, it's been around a while, but feels very futuristic, right? It's cool.
Yeah.
Are there and you've been doing this, 15 years now?
14, yeah.
14, all right. How do you see video content in general as having evolved over the last decade?
That's such a big question. Here's what I'll say. I think the most disruptive piece of it is the vertical video component of consumption. And the reason I say that is before, in a single hour, so 1 hour of your time, it would be hard to watch more than 2 to 3. Let's say in 1 hour you watch 1 to 2 shows, right? How many commercial breaks are during those shows? Maybe we'll call it in an hour, we'll call it 6 commercial breaks. Maybe. I don't know, maybe 4, maybe 6. And during those commercial breaks, they show on average 4 to 5 ads. So in 1 hour, you can see about 20 ads, right? Total. That's what's possible. When you're on YouTube, and I still think YouTube is probably the most undertapped opportunity, period, for brands. For this reason, people are spending a lot of time there. Look it up, do the math, like see how much time people are spending on YouTube. It is crazy. It's cross-generational. It's all the things. It does skew younger, of course. Ton of time being spent there. And the number of ads people are seeing per hour probably mirror that of television. So we'll ballpark it at 15 to anywhere from like 15 to 20 ads an hour. It was like a new metric, ads per hour. I don't know, APR or APH.
I think APR is taken.
Yeah, APH, ads per hour. But think about vertical video. So I've noticed every third to fourth video right now is an ad on my feed. And so how many videos can I consume in an hour on vertical video? Well, I mean, let's do the math. Let's say on average, I'm watching videos for 20 seconds. Well, that means it's 3 videos a minute. Times 60 is 180 videos, right? And if every fourth video is an ad, which I think it's actually every third right now, but let's say it's every fourth video. I want to say it's like, I can't do the math. Help me.
I should have been writing it down.
No, it's okay. I did this math and I'm like, oh shoot. If the average is 20, I can't do the math. It's basically double.
3,600 seconds in an hour.
Okay, that's not what we're looking for. Hold on. Oh, we owe the viewers answer. Okay, take 3 times 60 is 180, and then divide that
Okay.
by 4.
Now we got 45.
45. Thank you. Okay. So what I'm saying is, at bare minimum, you're going to see 45 ads per hour on vertical video. At bare minimum, it's at least 2.5 times any other platform in history in terms of ad velocity, how much you're going to see. And so I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, and not only that, like how many of those things that aren't ads are actually just content of influencers or people talking about something that might as well be an ad, right? Which you could say for YouTube too, of course. But I'm like, wow, like that's what's changed is now the amount. It's like we are in an era where the amount of ads people are seeing has gone up drastically, which only to me says the bar for making better advertising has to go even higher, because you are just gonna be like skip, 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 skip. You really have like 45 times an hour, and some people are spending 2 hours a day. They're getting 90 plus ads, just on one platform. That's a lot different than the television days of, we're getting 20 in an hour, in very concrete blocks. And so when you say like, what's changed, that's what's changed the most, and it needs to change people's content strategies, not just now but in the future, because to win, it's a whole different game.
My fear, and I think what happens here is just like our attention spans are fried, man. Just what it takes to get someone to stop, to get the thumb stop, to get them to actually like look at something. Yeah, the bar keeps getting higher because we're faced with essentially infinite choice of colors to put in my eyeballs. And my requirement for stopping just keeps getting worse. If you watch, if you watch just a random person on the train or whatever, like swipe through their phone, just look over their shoulder, be real creepy. Most people, they're just like speeding through it. It's like, you better, that first 1/10 of a second frame better look right, or they're not stopping. It's just maddening.
Yep. I mean, one, yes. Two, I will say, people have always had short attention span or short consideration spans, and they're getting shorter. But I wouldn't say they have short attention spans.
Oh, good point. That is an important difference.
Yeah. It's something that I've been harping on with people, because I'm like, no, like the most popular videos in the world on YouTube right now are Mr. Beast's 20-minute videos. It's not like people don't want to spend time with something of quality, but to your point, their consideration spans are incredibly small. And so the goal, I feel like, as a brand should be to create advertising that people want to stop and watch, right? Like, how do we create content so good that people know it's an ad and they don't care? They're like, yes, the next Dr. Squatch ad is out. I want to see it.
Well, that's your secret sauce.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the case. Attention. I mean, without it, we got nothing.
That is the true currency. Okay. Yeah. You're a smart guy. You've been around the block. This is my last question. What's the best advice you've received in your career that, may be applicable for us?
I mean, this is, I'm just going to give you, I don't know if this is helpful for anyone out there, but this is just the truth. I have an incredible business partner, Adam Wagner. And when I first was trying to decide, I was 3 years in the business, trying to decide if I'm going to introduce a partner and do these things. I talked to somebody and who had some business partners, and they said the best decision they ever made was, finding someone who was equally invested and partnered in the same values as them, and that was not a plus, but like a multiplicative factor of their success. And it's certainly been the case in mine. I wouldn't be on this podcast right now if it weren't for the work Adam's done to structure what we do, to mastermind what we do. And obviously, like any marriage or anything, partnerships can go awry. They can be the worst thing too. But when they go well, they could be the best thing in the world. And that advice changed my life.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, I have been the beneficiary of a great business relationship. And I've also had them blow up in my face, but I like the marriage analogy. I think it's quite apt. So where can people go to learn more about you? What if I want one of these fabulous commercials, where do I go?
I love it. Well, Raindrop.agency is our website. And then I'm very active on Twitter, LinkedIn, and where else? Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm everywhere. You can't miss me. Just like yourself, Kurt. You're everywhere. And I love it. I love it. I consume your content everywhere I go.
Thank you. So I see you're still calling it Twitter. It's 2024. It's still not X yet.
I mean, I'll be one of those people. It's bad. It's bad.
It's bad. It's still Twitter.
Bad habit. Yeah, I'm not doing it out of protest. I'm just like, never called it X in my life.
Yeah, I'm not about to jump on that train. I'm doing Elon the favor, right? He's really tanked the brand value here. Like, you're welcome, buddy.
Oh man.
All right, Jacques Spitzer, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for giving me. Well, I'm not going to watch commercials the same way now.
That's the best compliment I've received all week.
You put that on your homepage at the bottom. Not going to watch commercials the same.
That's right. All right, man.
Jacques Spitzer, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, bye. I don't know. I write bye. Like, is that how you end a podcast?